Do you guys remember the Lost Boys?
Michael and Sam have just moved to Santa Carla, California. They're about to discover its secret.
Get yourself a good sharp steak. Drive it right to his heart.
Ah, the 80s. Good times. Now, this viewer of ours got the opportunity to compile a leg sleeve based on the Lost Boys. So, stick around for our review. This tattoo was sent in by Joey Harris out of Titusville, Florida. If you want to check him out, there he is on Instagram, Joey Tattoos. Definitely do so. He's got a really kind of broad range of tattoo styles that he does. A lot of black and gray, a lot of color stuff, a lot of new school, a lot of old school. So definitely check it out for yourself, guys. If you want to find him, he's working at Control Tattoo there in Titusville, Florida. So let's break it down. Now, right off the bat, I want to judge how well he compiled this. How well did he design this thing? And the first thing that kind of stands out to me is there's two scenes here, right? You got the zoomed in portraits, and then you got the zoomed out scene here where the vampires are kind of hovering over this carnival or this fair or whatever it was. Now, me personally, I think I would have put this scene on top. For the simple fact that the sky should be on top. I don't know, maybe that's just my OCD. It's not a big deal, it does look good this way, but I personally think this scene should have been on top. He's got a large area to work with, and so I don't really think that it matters that much. But also, for designing it, he mixed black and gray with color. And this is something that I've seen him do in another piece, and he did it very, very well here. I really like this, especially how much black saturation is in there. That is a great idea when you're trying to put things in the foreground that are color. So yeah, the way he did this white, bold outer edge on these sort of like sticker-looking designs, and the heavy black in the background, this piece is a great way of mixing black and gray with color. But you always got to keep in mind, guys, that black and gray wash, is diluted ink. It's softened, diluted ink, whereas color is saturated, dense ink, right? So you're literally putting opposites right next to each other, and when it heals, that color is going to pop off way more. The black and gray is going to look duller and more faded, and that color is still going to look bright and saturated. So keep that in mind. There are good ways of mixing black and gray with color, but you know, you really want an artist who is experienced, who has done it before, and kind of knows what's going to look good and what's not. I think for this one, overall, the design, I think I would give it a 7 out of 10. I think he did a good job. There's some things I might change, but overall, pretty good job. 7 out of 10 on the design. Now, for the small details, this is something I got to talk about, because when I zoom in here, I'm seeing that this carnival or this fair, all these rides, this is cool detail. All these tiny little white highlights and stuff, that looks great. But then the sky above it is kind of just scribbly. It's kind of messy and scribbly looking. It doesn't really look like a sky. It just kind of looks a little haphazard there. And I would say the same thing about the hair on his forehead. That looks like nice, thin, crisp detail, but then the hair on the side here is kind of soft, fuzzy, out of focus detail. And so I kind of wish that there was more of those fine details in there. So for those details, I think I would rate it a 7.5 out of 10. Another detail that I think should be different is the way that he outlined these letters with a gray outline. I think he could have just skipped that, because when that heals, some of that gray outline is still going to be there. Some of it's going to be very faint or non-existent, and then in other places it'll be dark. And so that outlining just does not look good to me. I think he should have outlined it with the golden yellow, or just bloodlined it. That's what we artists call it when you don't use any ink and you just kind of leave a bloodline there for a reference later. And I think that would have looked a lot better than the actual gray lining there. So yeah, for the details, I'm going to give him a 7.5 out of 10. I think there could be some better details in there. Now, I also want to show the reference that he chose. This is Kiefer Sutherland that played one of the vampires in the movie, and I think this is the reference that he chose. I'm going to put it side by side here so we can kind of compare, see how well he did. Now, one thing I'm noticing right off the bat is the prosthetics that he has around his cheek there and his eyebrow. You can see they kind of wanted to make it look like he has these kind of sharp bones, and that doesn't really come across in the portrait, though. You really don't see that. Yeah, it just looks like a normal shape of an eye there. Now, I do give him kudos on the way he did the eyes, because in the movie, yeah, he's got these really kind of creepy bug eyes, and I think he did a good job of keeping that sort of appeal to them. Now, I almost wish there was color in them, because they're kind of a bright yellow-orange color in the movie, and yeah, I think that would have been a great place for color in this one as well, especially if it would have matched this the color palette down here. One thing he did a great job on is the details in the mouth. I think those are phenomenal. You use white highlights on the gums, which really kind of brings in that shiny, wet look of the gums. Yeah, so I think he did a pretty good job overall, but some of these shadows are different in places. I noticed that the actor had a stubble here, and that's really difficult. That sort of 5 o'clock shadow, that's really difficult to mimic. But I noticed that he really didn't even try to put any hair in there. When there's kind of a mustache here, you don't really know that's a mustache there. It just kind of looks like a dark shade on the upper lip. And so I think that could have been a little bit more in focus detail to help him out. But overall, I think, yeah, he did a pretty good job on this thing, compiled it really well. And then when we see the healed version of it, look at that, really clean. That black saturation is great, solid. The tones of gray are all differentiated, so I can tell those medium tones from the light tones from the dark tones. So he did a pretty good job. The portraits aren't shade for shade, so I think he could do a little bit better detail on those portraits and on this sky down here, but it healed phenomenally. For the healing, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think he did a great job, especially with this seafoam green color up here. That's not an easy color to saturate so solidly without any issues, and so I think he did a pretty good job on that. So overall, I think I would rate this one a 7.5 out of 10. I'm seeing things that I really like. I'm seeing some things that I think should have been improved, but overall, this is a great tattoo. 7.5 out of 10. And when I see other pieces in his portfolio like this, just another great nostalgic piece, I just love it, and I absolutely think I could recommend him as an artist. So that's it for this one, guys. 7.5 out of 10. Let him know how you would rate this tattoo down in the comments below. And if you want your tattoo rated, even if you're not a tattoo artist, go ahead and send it on in, guys. All right, we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.